Mordecai, you should know that I received an email in Israel from somebody that was attending the daf that was not happy with your use of that term. Okay? Hey. A year of learning, Sarah Alpert, in memory of her husband. I'm going to just do a shorter form since we're anyway. Bill and David Adler, in memory of her father. Friends of Honey Heifetz, friends of Jack Prince, friends of Sandy Davidoff, friends of Judy Cohen, friends of Dr. Annette Safransky, Gail and Leslie Kaplan, in memory of their parents, friends of the Cats, Free and Harvey Greenberg, in memory of their parents, friends of Rael Ebner, Ike and Evelyn Blacher, in memory of his sister, Dr. Philip Sheckham, Lila Bessler, in memory of granddaughter, Shirley Weinstein, in memory of her husband, and today we have a day of learning by Rabbi Yankee and Moshe Honig, in memory of his brother, Harav Yosef, Ben Rab, Simcha Ben Yom. And Hashem was Aliyah, Craig Fia, Rabbi Yeshir, Hashem Atliah, the Chol B'nai Yisrael, Good Ben Shtiar, and Tfiya Israel. And we hope that the Chatufim are able to be returned to their homeland, Eretz Yisrael, as soon as possible. Nishmat Joseph Farmer, and Marty also had a yard site. We'll mention that when he comes here. Okay. All right. Okay, our material is starting. We're going to start in a moment on the bottom right of Kaf Tet. Done with that? Okay, okay, and then go from there. Okay, okay, we are dealing with 29, in that case, B2, towards the, well, that's in our, okay. Well, that may be, but okay, not everybody uses art school. Okay, so the bottom of the omelet would be B4 in art school. Okay. All right. Okay, so we ended up with the fact of trying to determine whether when a certain statement was not included in the text, okay, of the admission, is it still valid or was it a scribal error? Okay, that was the end discussion. Okay, and that point of view, they indicated mass. Okay, the scribes, both the scribes in one community and the scribes of another community, or both scribes associated with one basin or with another basin, were aware of this. So that's where we end in the very bottom, as I said, of 29. B, if you're using that school, it's B4. If it's a regular Gemara, it's a B2. Last line.
I'm using Torah, Rabbi.
What?
Can you tell me where?
Right there.
I wonder. Thank you so much.
Okay. Marty, you have a yurt site today? No? Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, careful. Okay, so we're going to get started. All right. All right. So again, we're giving another example of a document of admission and the question of inaccurate language in the document. Okay, since that's what we just was discussed at the end of the Amud. Okay, the Havikatabe, it was written in the document. Okay, Duchrin Pitgame, right? That this situation was such that we're saying that it was only with two signatures, the document. Okay, so the question is going to be, okay, um, this language, we're going to, bottom of the base, right? Okay, okay. All right, so what we're going to see in a moment, okay, is that there are certain language in the document, as Rashi points out to us, okay, that it says, Duchrin Pitgame, it's the recording of words, okay, which is normally associated with language that's been done by a court, okay, okay, and of course, a court of three, okay, but the point is you only have two witnesses here, okay, and the question is, why is that the case, and shouldn't it have been really the record of testimony instead of the language of that's normally in a court of three? Okay, all right, so let's go on. V'chol lishnei debei dina, okay, and that just basically we said is the language of a court, all right. V'lo hava katav ba, but it was not written in the same document other language that was normally, careful there, associated with a court, namely, okay, b'motav tlata, in sitting of three, okay, Havina v'chad latuye, that it could have been that there were gathering of three, but one was missing. Okay, in other words, the concern was that if this document was written improperly, okay, or the fact that wouldn't they have said it was originally a court of three, but one of the judges either passed away or had to travel or things like that, okay, is absent. That's the point that the Gemara is trying to clarify. Savar Ravina, and Ravina was of the opinion, right? Lamemar Hainu de Reish Lakish, that this is perhaps in following the concept, the idea of Reish Lakish, that no document is signed unless it's performed appropriately, which we saw about that reference to previous Amud, where it said Gadol, okay, with that situation. Okay, that the witnesses wouldn't sign if the one of the litigants is not mature, above appropriate age, adult, so on and so on. Okay, so let's go on. Amarle Rav Natan Bar Ami, says Rav Natan Bar Ami, Hachi Amrinan Mishmei de Rava. This is what we say in the name of Rava. Kol Ki Hayavna. Anything of this variety, this kind of situation, Chayshinan Lebeit Din To'en. Okay, we suspect that this could be an erroneous court. Okay, a court that's not properly structured and having three judges and only had two. That would be one example. There could be other examples as well. Okay, Amar Rav Nachman, says Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak. Ikatav ba, if it was written in the document Beidina, the actual language saying the court, to lo tzarif, then more than that, you wouldn't need any further information to validify the document as appropriate. V'dilma Beit Din chatzufhu. Perhaps, however, this is considered a Beit Din chatzuf, an insolent or an impudent. Okay, let's have one person giving the shiur, please. Okay, right. Okay, Vadilma Beit Din Chatzufhu. Perhaps it's an insolent or an impudent Beit Din. Da'amar Shmuel, as Shmuel says, Shnayim Shahayu Dayanehem. Okay, Din, Ela shenikra'u beit din chatzuf. According to Shmuel, when there was two that adjudicated the case, okay, that is considered, when it should have been three, it's considered a beit din chatzuf, an insolent or impudent beit din. Okay, dichtav bay, because it's written about it, beit dina de Rabbana Ashi. But it was written in this document, the beit din associated with Rav Ashi. So the Gemara asks, in this case, V'dilma Rabbanan debe Rav Ashi kishmuel sevira leho? Is it possible then that the Beit Din of Rav Ashi is of the same opinion of as Shmuel, that such a Beit Din of two can adjudicate cases appropriate validly, but it is din hatzuf? Is that the case? No, says the Gemara. Dichtiv bo, because it's written in the document, va'amana le Rabana Ashi. And they said to him, to Rav Ashi, okay? Va'amar lam Rabana Ashi. And Rav Ashi said to us, implying that if Rav Ashi himself was involved in that court, certainly a person of the category of the quality of Rav Ashi would not allow it to be a Beit Din Chatzuf, but would it be an appropriate Beit Din of three individuals. Okay? We go on to the new material. Okay, Tanu Rabbanan, says the Braita. Right, in this case. Amar lehen echad. Okay, he said to him, Echad ani ra'iti avichem shemin ma'ot b'sheda teva umigdal. Okay, so the Gemara is telling us now we're dealing with a situation where the Braita is telling us that someone said to them, okay, I saw your father, okay, hiding money either in let's call it a carriage or a chest, something like that. Also, it could be a box. It could be a closet, things of that nature. Okay? Va'amar shel plonihem. And he indicated that the money belonged to so-and-so. Shel ma'aseh sheni. Or, according to another view, the money was ma'aseh sheni. Or it could have been that person's ma'aseh sheni money. Both pshatim are so. Okay? Right? Now, what is the situation there? Okay? So here, okay. So now they're wondering what's with this money. Okay? Va'amar shel plonihem, right? We said that. Okay, so what happens? Ma'aseh sheni. But buy it. If he indicated the money was in the house, lo amar klum. It's as if the person gave no testimony, no valid statement, no admission. B'sadeh. If the money, he implied that the money was in the field, right? Perhaps Dvarav Kamin. Okay, so whether it's a carriage, a trunk, a closet, whatever it is, and so there were times when we would disregard the situation of such an admission, says the Gemara, okay, because of the question of its credibility. Right? Now we go on. Klalo shel davar, says the Gemara, kol shebiado livlan, where it's something that one can obtain it, remove it, to take it, dvarav kayamin. Then we say that the admission, the statement is valid. Ein biado livlan, if he is not able to access it, take it, right? Lo amar klum, it's as if he did not say anything. Right? So then one picks up and raises the point. Hare shara'u et avihen shehitmin ma'ot sheda teva umigdal. Okay, now we have another example, okay, of a situation where maybe the admission is going to be not credible. In this case, it's a dream, right? And in this dream situation, it revealed to their sons that money again was hid in some sort of carriage or trunk or box or a closet, things like that, right? And what happens, right? Va'amar shel plonihem. And it was told in the dream that it belonged to so-and-so. Shel ma'aseh sheni. or it could have been Maaser Sheni money, okay, or it could have belonged to that person and was Maaser Sheni money, okay? Hey, right? Im kimoseh dvarav kayamin, okay? If it seems that in this case, the dream, okay, the message that was shared in the dream was imparting instruction, kayamin, we would say then that it is acceptable, it's valid. Im k'ma'arim, however, if the language seems to be deceiving, lo amar klum, then it's not like he said anything. Harei shaya mitzta'er al ma'ot shehiniach lo aviv. If somebody was distressed about not being able to find money that he knew that his father had hidden, okay, what happens? Babal hachalom va'amarlo, and the master of the dream, okay, we can interpret that a few different ways, okay. What happens, said to him, kach v'kachein, this is the situation, okay, being unable to find it, but makom plonihin, and it tells him the money is located in such a place. Shel ma'aser shenihin, and that this money is ma'aser sheni money. Okay, what happens? Zeh haya ma'aser. Okay, and this was an actual incident, says the Gemara, that happened. Va'amru divrei. Okay, va'amru divrei chalamot. Lo ma'alim v'lo moridim. Okay, and what do we have here? A situation where basically it's such that it's no real direction. It's no real direction. Okay, it's no real clear instruction. Is the word phrase I want. And so therefore, since it doesn't say, you would consider it not valid. Okay. All right, we get to a new piece of the Gemara. Okay. Now, this one talked about the question of the Shnayim Omrim Zakat, right? The question of the mention of division among the judges, right? Michtav Hachi Kadre. In that situation, how do they write the verdict? Asks the Gemara. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Zakai. We're going to see three opinions. According to Rabbi Yochanan, they simply write the opinion as Zakai, as not guilty or not responsible. Reish Lakish Amar, different answer. They spell out in this situation, okay? Namely, Ploni uploni mizakin, uploni uploni mechavin, or Ploni uploni. These judges say that the person is not responsible, the 2 out of the 3, or the 2 out of the 3 say the person is responsible, right? Rabbi Eliezer says as follows, a third opinion, okay? Midivrehen nizdavha ploni, okay? From their words, so-and-so is considered not responsible or not guilty, okay? All right, so we have 3 different suggestions as how the verdict is going to be, and the Gemara wants to clarify. Why did they give 3 different explanations? Each of them must have had their own viewpoint, okay? My beinayu, what's the difference between them? Ika beinayu l'shlome ihi minta bahadayu, okay? Okay, what is he saying? Is that the question is going to be, in this case, that, I'm just looking at my note, okay. Okay, that the difference between them as to whether, okay, whether the judge who voted differently, okay, well, I can't say correct. The dissenting judge, in either case, okay, but the dissenting judge, whether he has to pay along with the others or not. Okay, okay, so that's the question. Dilaman, according to the Amar Zakai, but according to the one who said who is Zakai, namely Rabbi Yochanan, Mishalem, he must pay, okay, along with the other judges. Okay, so the three of them. Okay? Laman de Amar Ploni Uploni Mizakin Ploni Uploni Mechayvin, according to the view of Reish Lakish, where you spell out the different judges. Lo Mishalem. Okay, in other words, in that situation, two of the judges would pay the 2/3 of what's owed, okay, and the one other judge would not pay whatsoever. Okay, right? And the third example, the third case that we had, Ulaman de Amar Zakai okay, Mishalem, and they said, according to the one who said that if he's free or not guilty, not responsible, has to pay. What about that? Let's clarify that. Lema laho, maybe these other judges could say to that individual, okay, ila the deed saititun atun gnami lo shlimitun. Had you listened to me, you wouldn't have to, the dissenting judge. Had you ruled according to the way I would have ruled, you would not have had to pay. That's what he's saying. Ella ika beinayu, but rather perhaps the difference between them is the following. L'shlome inhu minta didei, that they have to pay his share. Okay? Laman de amar zakai mishalem, mishalme, according to the one who says, in other words, that was Rabbi Yochanan again, who said that the person is not responsible. What happens there? They would have to pay the share of the third judge. Laman da Amar Ploni Uploni Mezakin, Uploni Mechayvin, according to Reish Lakish's view, Lo Meshame. Okay, again, they would pay 2/3, and the other would pay none. Okay. Laman da Amar Zakai Meshame. Are you saying that the one who said he's not responsible would have to pay? Is that the question? V'limdule. Lemrule. So let them say to him, come back, Ilav ad bahadan. If you hadn't joined us in this case, lo hava salik dina mide. We wouldn't have even been able to come to any sort of a decision, a judgment, an adjudication. So therefore, the implication is, no, you should pay too. Okay, and not just us. Okay. Ela ika beinayu. But rather, perhaps this is the difference between them. Mishum lo telech Rachel ba'amech. Okay, that we say, citing the pasuk, that one should not go like a talebearer among the people. Rabbi Yochanan, back to now, reminding us who said what. Rabbi Yochanan, who was the one who said zakai, that the person is not responsible or obligated. Mishum lo telech Rachel is basically saying, based on the pasuk. All right? You don't go saying who said what and who spelled out what in terms of the court adjudicated result. Okay, the final judgment. Reish Lakish, and Reish Lakish, who said Ploni Uploni Mizaki and Ploni Uploni Mechayvin, who did spell out, okay, which judges said one thing and which judges said another thing. All right, why? Mishum de Mechaze Kashikra, because we're concerned that perhaps this would appear like a lie, like a falsehood. Okay, right? The Rabbi Eliezer, says Rabbi Eliezer, eat lay demar, the eat lay demar. And Rabbi Eliezer or Eliezer, okay, on the one hand, he like one view, on the other hand, he held like another view. Yeah, okay, one or the other. Okay, Hilkach, therefore, Katve Hachi, Midivrehem. Okay, therefore he wrote according to their words, Nizdaka Ploni, and that's why he decided to phrase his answer that so and so without spelling out names in particular. Okay, we go on. Gamru et hadavar hayu nisim, etc., etc. The Gemara is going to want to know here where it says they bring them in. About whom are we talking in this case, right? Laman, so according to whom? To which? Who are we dealing with? If we're talking about bringing the litigants in, is our question. Hatam kaimo. Kaime, they're already there. Okay, you can't do the discussion. You can't do the whole case unless the litigants are present. Elil edim, but rather we must be talking about bringing in the witnesses. Come on, according to whom? Delo Rabbi Natan. That's certainly not according to Rabbi Natan, the Tanya who teaches leolam ein edutam mitztarefet ad sheyiru shnehem ke'echad, that their testimony is not considered valid and that it's joined together. It's as if it's a single testimony until they are both present and seen together. Okay? Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, however, held a different view. Afilu bazeh achar zeh, even if you interviewed one witness and then afterwards interviewed a second witness, ve'ein edutan mekayemet b'beit din ad sheyidu shneihen ke'echad. But we have a statement that says that their testimony is not valid in the court until they bring testimony together. Rabbi Nassan Omer, he says, Shomin dvarav shel zeh hayom. Okay, we can hear the testimony of this one day, right? Uksheba chavero lemachar, and when his friend, his co-witness, comes the next day, Shomin et dvarav. We can then listen to him. Okay, no, says the Gemara. Le'olam leba'alei dinin. No, we're talking about bringing in the litigants. Rabbi Nechemia, and this is the view of Rabbi Nechemia. The Tanya, as taught in the Braita, Rabbi Nechemia Omer says as follows: Kachaya min hagam shal naki hadaat shebiyushalayim. This was the practice of those, let's call it, pure-minded, individuals in Jerusalem. Machnisin leba'alei dinin, we bring in the litigants. V'shomin divreihem, and we hear their statements. Umachnisin et ha'edim, and we bring in the witnesses. V'shomin divreihem, and then we listen to their statements. Umotzein otam lachutz, and then we send them out. Okay, v'nos in v'not nin b'davar. Then the judges have their back and forth, right? Gamru et hadavar machnisin otam. Now we say, then they decide, then they bring everybody back in. Let's say case. But wait a second, says the Gemara. Vahatanya, aren't we taught elsewhere in another Braita? Gamru et hadavar. Okay, when they finish this debate, discussion, machnisin ha'edim, that they bring in the witnesses. What happens? Hahi deloka Rabbi Nassan. That is not like the view of Rabbi Nassan. Gufa. Let's come back, says the Gemara, to examine this particular issue. Okay. Le'olam ein edutan mitztarefet ad sheyiru shneihen ke'echad. We always say that their testimony, it cannot be joined and considered a single valid testimony until they are until they're seen together. Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, however, says, Afilu bazeh achar zeh. It could be done even if it's interviewing one witness after the other witness. B'mai kemiflage, what are they arguing about? Asks the Gemara. Ibayat ema. I might say that they're basically arguing about a pasuk. V'ibayat ema svara. I might say that they're arguing about an aspect of logic, right? Ibayat ema svara. Notice, by the way, what I'll call here the chiastic structure. A, B, B, A. First, they raise the question of the pasuk, then svara. Now they're going to explore it, svara, and then go back to the pasuk. Okay, right? So what happens? Ibayat ema svara. I might say it was for, okay, namely, all right, how, okay, amana deka masid, okay, that if they're testifying about a certain amount of money, that's what they're testifying, hai lo ka masid, and this one doesn't testify about that amount, all right, hai, okay, okay, and this one, umana deka masid, hai lo ka masid, hai. And this one doesn't testify about the same amount of money, okay, in that situation. Okay, you wanted to add something. Go ahead.
One, they're not testifying about the same thing. We learned one says Schwartz gave Abramowitz $100 on Monday. The other, and he was the only witness. The other says I saw Schwartz give Abramowitz $100 on Tuesday. So according to Rav Shimon, he holds that you can be mitzaref the two, because taken together, each can testify he saw it gave him $100.
Okay, we'll get to that in a
And
moment.
that's what this is saying. Now
Right.
we'll get to it. That's what it's saying now.
Okay, we'll see. The idach and the other, okay, amana ba'alma. No, what Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha is saying is no, they're basically, it's one thing to say it was a testimony in one amount one time, okay, and another occasion, another situation. No, he says it's basically the same item. It's the same amount of money, okay, regardless whether it was done on Monday or Tuesday, things like that. They're both testifying on the same situation, okay? Travayu kemisahade. Both of them are giving their testimony. Okay, that case. V'ibayat ema. But wait a second, says the Gemara. Maybe I would say their argument is not based on logic. Maybe it's based on a pasuk. Okay? And what are they saying? Krak dichti, because the pasuk says, Vehu aid o ra'ah o yada, that he was a witness, or he saw, or he knew. Okay, implying, okay, what's the situation? Vatanya. And here a Braita teaches, Mimashma shenelmar. Okay, from this we understand the following. Lo yakum aid, that one could not be a witness. Ein no yodea shehu echad. Okay, doesn't he know then that as a single person he can't be a witness? Okay, even if he saw, or even if he was there, etc., etc.
Could it have been a different situation on Tuesday than today?
Of course, that's what the court is concerned about. Okay, ma Talmud lomar echad. So what do you mean when we say one in the pasuk? Okay, zebana av. It's a binyan av. Okay, kol makom shene'amar ed. Any place where it says a witness. What do we say? What do we say? Hare kan shnayim. We're not saying it a witness. We understand it as, I'm going to phrase, testimony. Testimony. Okay? That's the phrase. Unless the Gemara is going to tell us, ad sheyifrot lecha hakatuv echad. Unless the Torah spells out specifically that it's a single person. Okay? Okay. So what happens? V'afke rachmana b'lashon echad, and the fact that the Torah vocalizes it in the singular as one. Lamemar ed dechazu travaihu ke'echad. Until both of them have seen it or aware of it as if they are one. Okay? Ve'idach, and the other, again, back to our buddy, Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, Vehu ed, o ra'ah, o yada, mikol makom. Okay? Regardless, okay, of the situation. All right, we go on now. New piece. Ve'ein edutan mitkayemet bebeit din ad sheyeidu shneihen ke'echad. Okay, what does that imply? Rabbi Natan Omer, says Rabbi Natan, Shom'in dvarav shel zeh hayom ukesheyavo chaveiro lemachar shom'in dvarav. I can take his testimony, says Rabbi Natan, Monday, and the next time comes the next day. Okay, I can take the next. But my kamiflake, What then are Rabbi Nassan and Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha really arguing about, asks the Gemara. Ibayat ema svara. I might say, again, it's an issue of logic. Ibayat ema kra. Again, I might say it's based on a pasuk. Ibayat ema svara. I might say it's based on logic. What? Mar savar ed echad ki ati l'shavua ate l'mamona lo ate. One may hold when it comes to a single witness, a single individual, if he comes to take an oath. Right. Well, he can come and make us be present, and a single witness is sufficient to make sure that a oath has to be given. Okay? But, right. Ate le mamona, but when it comes to money, getting the money, lo, that's not the case. The idach and the other, atu ki atu bahade hadade, since when they come together, Bechad prima or puma ka misade. It's as if they're testifying with what? Yes. Are they testifying as if it's one mouth? It's one person.
What he's saying is, logically, you have to accept my view that they testify serially, because you do not put two guys on the witness stand and they both give their testimony
At the same time. Okay, that would be one.
Even though it says they testify together, it's impossible for them both to speak simultaneously.
Right, that's understandable.
So what's the difference?
Elam it's tarfin, but rather they gather, they're connected. Hachanami litzarfin, no. So here too we say they're connected. Excuse me. V'bayat ema fra. And if you want, I would say it's based on a pasuk. Im lo yagid v'nesa avono. If we say that if he doesn't base the pasuk, if he doesn't tell what the testimony, he is carrying out a prohibition. Okay, what happens? We'll go as far as we can in this much time. The kuliyama and everybody, including Rabbi Nassan, Kirabanan, holds this like the rabbis. The pligi laid the Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha, that they are arguing against Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha. Vahacha ba'akushe hagada l'ri'iyah kamiflage. But here the difficulty is comparing their telling of their testimony to what they saw that they claim they witnessed. That's the problem. We'll get to that. Does the Gemara talk about the time gap? Okay, between if you accept the fact that the one was one and one was another, what about the time gap? Does that? But no, just in general, right? In general, Heshi, right? We're gonna get to that. We'll get the Gemara will address it. The Gemara has to address it. Rab Nassan says, okay, that it's not an issue. The Gemara is going to try to clarify later on. We may get to it today. Okay, if one said one thing, one says another. Is it a question of time? Is it a question of details? Things like that. Okay, it's a long Gemara. I didn't write it. Okay? Just try to teach it. Okay, so what happens? Mar savar makshin and haggadah l'raya. One of the masters says that there can be a difficulty between telling the giving the testimony and what they actually witnessed. Umar savar lo makshinan, and the other holds that we don't say that situation. Okay, Rabbi Shimon ben Eliakim. Okay, so what happens? We now get into another story. All right, and this is a side story. Okay, well, I don't know. I wouldn't call it cute. Okay, Rabbi Shimon ben Eliakim, Hava mishtakid alei, the Rabbi Yossi beRabbi Chanina lemismechet. That Rabbi Shimon ben Eliakim was striving diligently in order to enable the ordination of Rabbi Yossi beRabbi Chanina. Velo kamistaye milta, and he was not successful with this thing. What happens? Yom echad haviyativ kame de Rabbi Yochanan. It happened one day that Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Chanina was sitting among a group of students in front of Rabbi Yochanan. Amar laho, and Rabbi Yochanan says to them, Mi ika diada halacha ke Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha ola. Does anyone know whether the law is like Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha or not? So one of the other, so this Rabbi Shimon points out is Rabbi Shimon ben Eliakim, Din Yada, he knows, namely pointing to Yossi bar Rabbi Chanina, pointing to him. Amarle, he said, Rabbi Yochanan then says to him, Lema Ezo, go ahead, let me hear it from you, Amarle, he said to them, so Rabbi, what's his name, Rabbi Shimon says to Rabbi Yochanan, Lismechei mar beresha, let the master give him smicha, and then he'll stand up, because remember the students were seated on the ground, then he will stand up and be able to rightfully give a statement as a colleague and not just as a student, So what happens? Samche, he ordained him. Amarle bani emorli ketzad shamat. New young man, tell me, what did you hear? Amarle. So now our young man, Yossi bar Rabbi Chanina, is put on the defensive, put on the spot. Amarle kach shamati. This is what I learned. Shmura Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha, the Rabbi Shemode. I'm sorry. Again, that's why I'm waiting on new glasses. Shemode Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha, that Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha concedes to the view of Rabbi Nassim. All right. Amar. In other words, there could be a difference. But as I said, Heshi, that doesn't answer your question yet. Because the Gemara is bothered by this and is going to have to come back and deal with it. Right. Amar lezohit starakti. This is what I needed to hear, says Rabbi Yochanan, in a sense, putting down the poor kid. Hashta, here now. Uma ikar ra'aya bahade hadade. And is the essence the fact that what they witnessed was really together? Amar Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha lo ba'inan.
Does it require them standing together when they're acting as witnesses?
Well, we'll get to that. That's what I'm going to explain. Amar Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha lo ba'inan. That's not necessary. Haggadah mibaye. If we don't require them, to see it at the same time, certainly we don't require them to testify at the same time. That's not necessary. Amarle ho'il va'alit lo tered. But since you were raised up, in other words, you stood, you now got smicha, lo tered. You don't have to sit down. Amar Rabbi Zera, says Rabbi Zera, Shma mina, we learned from this, Gavra Rabba, regarding a great person, Kevan de Samich, Samich. Once they receive their ordination, they're considered ordained. Amar Rabbi Chia bar Avin, says Rabbi Chia bar Avin, Amar Rav, says Rav. Halacha ka Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha. The law is like Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha. Bein bekarkaot, bein b'metaltalin. Regardless if the admission was based on landed property or movable property, right? So what happens? Ula Amar, says Ula, halacha ka Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha bekarkaot. No, he says Ula. The law is like Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha regarding landed property, aval lo b'metaltalin, but not with the movable property. Amarle Abai, and Abai then says to Ula, halacha miklal de plige. The halacha here is because there's a difference. They're arguing. Va'amar Rabbi Abba, Amar Rav Huna, says Rav Huna, Amar Rav in the name of Rav. Modim chachamim le Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha. that the sages acknowledge, I could see to Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha, be'edut karka, in regards to testimony based associated with land. Utani Rav Idi bar Avin, and Rav Idi ben Arma says, B'nezikin, the Bay Karka, I'm saying the Bay Karna, okay, and he says, in regards to issues of monetary damages and things like that, okay, that came from the court of Karna, okay, Modin Chachamim Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha be'edut bechor. That also there's another example that from the court of Karna that the sages acknowledge the view of Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha in regarding a situation where a firstborn animal, whether it's the testimony of two individuals that they say that they saw a blemish in a firstborn animal, and it would allow the Kohen to benefit from it. Okay? Ube'edut karka, and in regards to testimony regarding land, ube'edut chazakah, and it was also in regards to testimony regarding presumption of ownership of land based on a 3-year situation. V'chein shebabein uv'shebat, and also in regards to signs of adulthood regarding physical evidence towards a young boy or a young girl. Okay, what happens, says the Gemara. Gavra agavra karamit, mar savre plige, umar savar lo plige. One person against another. You have raised a contradiction where one person says they argue and another says they don't argue. Mai, what is it? V'chein sheb, mai, question, v'chein shebabein v'shabat. And isn't it also an issue regarding this example of the signs of adulthood? If we're going to say now this is a side discussion that suddenly comes in from the Gemara, how can you say that we're going to accept Rabbi Yeshua ben Karch in this case? If we're a situation, okay, and Heshi, begins the section that you're asking about, okay? If one says, okay, that the hairs were on a back, and the other says the hair was a single hair was on the lower abdomen. Hai chatzi davar v'hai chatzi davar. This is only really half a testament and half a testament. Okay, it's not a full it's not a valid testimony because number one, it has to be two hairs, and number two, it has to be in the same place. See? Okay, and right, Ela echad omer shtayim begaba. But if one says there's two on the back, the echad, okay, and one says v'echad omer shtayim bekrisa, and one says it's on the lower abdomen. Amar Rav Yosef, says Rav Yosef, Ana Amina mishmei de'ula halacha k'Rav Yoshua ben Karcha bein bekarkaot bein bemetaltel. He says, but Rav Yosef says, I agree with Ula, however, that in this case, where it comes to issues of taltalin, okay, of both landed property and movable property, that I agree and accept the decisions of Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha. Okay, the Rabbanan, da'atu mechosa, and the rabbis who came from Mechosa, Amre, what do they say? Amar Rabbi Zera says, Rabbi Zera Mishmei Rav, in the name of Rav, Karkaot and Avalo b'metaltalim, with landed property, yes, but not in movable property. Rav Latame, and Rav had his view. The Amar Rav, as Rav says, Hoda'a echad achar. Hoda'ah, okay, that one admission after another admission, Hoda'ah achar halva'ah, or an admission after a loan, what happens? Mitztarfe, that can be joined. Halva'ah achar halva'ah, but one loan after another loan, or halva'ah achar hoda'ah, or a loan after an admission, lo mitztarfe, doesn't join. So what happens? Ashkechei Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak the Rav Huna bere the Rav Yoshua. Amar le, he said to him, Ma yishna hava'a achar hava'a. What's so unique or different about one loan after another? A loan below that you know that you can't say that it doesn't join. Demana deka chazi dehai, lo kachi chazi dehai. That the one who saw this transaction, this monetary act at one time, and the other one didn't see it. Hai hoda'a achar hoda'a nami. I can apply the same thing to one admission after another admission also. Amana de kamode kamehai. That again, the transaction, the money, when acknowledged by one was one. Lo mode kamehai. But that doesn't mean it was acknowledged in front of the other one person. Da amarle, because you can say lahai batra bahai mana da ide la kamach ide le nami kame ploni. Okay, that here we can again say that to this one was later. Okay, in terms of one amount, and to the other one, it could have been before him. Okay, somebody else, a different loan, a different situation. Akate, still, says the Gemara, Batra Yada, the later one, the later witness knew, Kamalo Yada. In that case, and the earlier witness doesn't know. The Hadar says, no, it came back, Azil Amarle. And the person who was involved in the transaction went back and told the other person, okay, Amarle Lekama, and he told the first person, Hi mana da ode le kamech. That money that I transacted before you, ode le nami kame ploni. I also went and admitted it before so and so. Okay, so now there are two witnesses that are aware of the same transaction. Okay, Amarle, he said to him as follows, right? Tanuach datach. Let your mind rest, be settled. Shehinachta et dati, because you have settled my mind. Amarle. So he says to him, my nichute, what do you mean settling my mind? The Rava, okay, the Itema Rav Sheshet, that of Rava, and others say it was Rav Sheshet. Shada ba garna. Okay, it's like you threw an axe into my whole argument, my whole explanation. You ruined it. Okay, love hainu hoda'a, achar halva'a. Wasn't that an example of an admission after a loan, and therefore it's problematic? Amarle, he said to him, hainu deshamile. This alaihu. This is what I understood. Okay, that basically diramutu dikle vizakifitu laho. This is what I know people in your town. So what they normally do, they knock down or chop down trees, and then they replant them. Okay, in other words, they knock out the argument, and then they bring up another presentation, another explanation. Okay, the case, right? Nahadai Amre, the Nahadayan say, Bein Hoda'a Achar Hoda'a, whether it's one admission after another admission, Bein Hoda'a Achar Hava'a, or it's an admission after a loan. Bein halva'a achar halva'a. Bein a loan after a loan. Bein halva'a achar halda'a, or a loan after an admission. Mitztarefet, they join. Kiman, according to whom? Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha, according to the view of Rabbi Yoshua ben Karcha. Amar Rav Yehuda, says Rav Yehuda, another statement. Edut hamacheshet zo et zo, the b'dikot kshera. Here you go, Heshi. This is the point. When we have testimony which conflicts one with the other in the examination, okay, is valid. B'dinei mamonot, in terms of monetary cases. Amar Rava, mistabra milte, a statement seems logical. The Rav Yehuda. Why? Ke'echad omer, as in a case where one might have say, ba'arnaki, okay, shchora, it was a black purse, ve'echad omer, ba'arnaki levana, and the other witness says, oh, it was a
Right.
white purse. Aval, but, okay, aval omer maneh shachor. But if one says it was a black coin, a dark coin, an old coin, okay, a used coin, ve'echad omer mana lavan, and one says it was a white coin,
And
namely it was bright, it was shiny, it was a new coin, ein mitztarfin. In that case, the testimony does not join. So the Gemara now asks as we begin to finish, Va'arnaki shchora b'dinei nefshot lo? In such a discrepancy, okay, in regards to capital cases, that's not acceptable. Okay? Va'amar Rav Chisda, says Rav Chisda, echad omer b'sayif kargo. It's as if one would say he was killed by a sword, ve'echad omer ba'ariran, with a dagger, hargu. Okay? Ein ze nachon. That's not appropriate. Echad omer kelav shchorim, or if one says the clothes are dark, ve'echad omer kelav levanim, and if the other says the clothes are light, harei ze nachon, that is acceptable.
So even in English, minor discrepancies are it.
Go to the next plot, it gives you the answer. Come on, one line.
Okay, and it finishes. Gavra agavra karami, na'adei amar afilu echad omer maneh shachor v'echad omer maneh lavan, mitztarfin, keman, to Rabbi Yoshua ben Kalev.
Chisda סובר שזה נפשי.
Thank you. Thank you so much for everything.
All right?
Good.
Okay, for Ilui Lenishmat, what's your
Weinberg.
Joseph Weinberg, Marty, you want the Ilui Lenishmat? Dina Batzev, you want to say Rabbanan Kaddish? Okay, Rabbanan Kaddish. Right.
Right.